Thank
Okay,
you.
it just started.
And- Gotcha. And then this recording will be shared out to everyone here and anyone that couldn't make it, so that they have a recap of what we discussed here and any ideas that y'all present to us during this meeting. But let me move on. So with y'all being here, I'm assuming most of y'all know what Best Buddies is about, but real quick, in case you don't, we are a nonprofit and we assist individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we have a few programs. We have 4 overall nationwide, but in Texas we have 3. And they're the Friendship Program, the Jobs Program, and our Leadership Program. And the Friendship provides these one-to-one friendships between individuals with and without IDD. The Jobs Program provides individuals 18 years and up that would like to find employment, and we assist them through that entire process and during the life of their job, as long as they're part of our program. And then the Leadership Program provides people with and without IDD opportunities to develop their leadership skills through trainings that we have, as well as providing them with training on life skills and independent living skills as well, and social activities as well. So we've introduced ourselves, but we also want to let y'all know that just because we're both in specific areas of Texas, that we still manage volunteers throughout the state of Texas, as we have participants in areas of East Texas, West Texas, and far South Texas as well. And so that if you're a volunteer in one of those areas that are not in the North Texas area or around the Houston area, just know that you are still a valuable member, a volunteer of Best Buddies, and we are looking forward to having you help us in whatever way you can, whether it be at your location or virtually, of course. Victoria, did you have anything else to add to that before we move on?
Not that I can hear anything. The volume's like so.
Okay, so let's move on.
So essentially the goal for today, we wanted to obviously welcome all of you to Best Buddies because you've expressed an interest in volunteering and getting involved. So the whole process of us hosting these meetings is to kind of lay out all of the different opportunities that you have within Texas and also within your regions. So we're going to kind of go through those and kind of help you understand what those roles would look like should you want to get involved in those specifically. And some of those opportunities that we have currently for you are participating in social events, which in the past have been more in person, but right now they are typically more virtual events. But hopefully we are moving in the right direction to where we can host more in-person events in the future. There's also opportunities to be speech coaches, and that can be hosted within like our ambassador trainings, and sometimes with our jobs participants. Also, you have the opportunity to plan and host ambassador trainings. You can do a mock interview that is specifically with our jobs program and helping them gear up for possible employment. And then we also have committees for our annual Friendship Walk and our Champion of the Year Gala. And then we also are trying to increase our parent engagement. So if we have any parents on here, that is something that we are open to hearing your ideas and your feedback on. So we're going to kind of go through all of those specifically and give you each more details on those specifically so that you can understand that. And then in the surveys that you all filled out, this way you can understand each of those, I guess, in more depth. So. Oh, you're muted, Joaquin.
All right, there we go. Sorry about that. So as Victoria said, starting out with social events, we're just going to keep giving you some further information on these things. And if you have any comments during the presentation, you're more than welcome to drop in those in the chat. Of course, after everything has been talked about on our end, we are opening it up to y'all so that y'all can ask us any questions you may have about what we brought up. So going forward, so with social events, for the last year, of course, we've been doing everything virtually, even our larger events, except for the Friendship Walk, which happened this spring, which was more of a hybrid event. That was a fully virtual event the year prior. And Going forward, now that things are opening up in Texas and people are getting more and more vaccinated, we're trying to do in-person events now. With the summer coming on and the heats slowly encroaching us all, we want to get these events out there sooner rather than later, and making sure we beat the heat so that everyone can have a good time outside if we choose to do so, or if we do an indoor event, but still, in person, that can be an option as well. For virtual events, we're still looking at that being statewide, because we do have participants that are a little bit more farther away than North Texas or the Houston area. And this is beneficial for them and just a way for them to continue to socialize with others in lieu of being able to in person. And we're looking at not only events for the summertime, but also later on down the year. I know in the Houston area, Victoria's playing together with other chapter down there, like an Oktoberfest themed events. In North Texas, we don't really have a fall event planned. Usually we kind of in the past have focused on our gala that happens there, and that's a nationwide event. But to stick with engaging our participants, I would like to have some kind of fall events as well around that time, and utilizing the volunteers that specifically wanted to help out with these social events. That would be something that we would look into to further engage them. And as far as in-person events, these are going to be happening regionally, for sure in the North Texas and Houston area, but we have a large enough interest in other parts of Texas, then we are certainly open to having in-person events there as well. Our Central Texas location is growing faster and faster. So having an in-person event down there would be great. It's just a matter of having the volunteers in that area come together and plan something, and just help us kind of getting the word out there and making sure that the participants know about that and getting them there. Information and dates on that are to come, because they're going to be divvied out regionally. I know in my case, we have a few weeks before the end of the month, and then 4th of July happens in the first week of July. So I would like to try and have an in-person event in the North Texas area about the second week of July. So kind of getting that planning process started in June, maybe sometime next week, with the volunteers that specifically filled out the survey to help out with this would be something I would be reaching out to them about. And then this information as well will be in the newsletter once we have these solid dates on there, and the Zoom link for the meetings as well. But that's pretty much the gist of that. When it comes to kind of topics and ideas for these events, we're open to whatever you guys feel comfortable or feel able to assist us in bringing to our participants. Some ideas that I have are like a field day events at a local park, maybe a trip to the museum in the Dallas area, the Dallas Museum of Art, and just anything else that would be fun and allow for our participants to socialize with one another, if possible. The next slide. And then here, this kind of encompasses the options that were the speech coach, which Victoria talked about a little bit, the mock interviews, and then the ambassador trainings. For my part on here, the speech coach and mock interviews, like Victoria mentioned, the speech coaches are the volunteers that help out with our ambassador trainings. So these leadership trainings that focus on speech writing, traditionally, public speaking, having participants get out their story as somebody with or without IDD, and just further advocating for those within the IDD community. These volunteers assist throughout the training, either in a one-on-one setting or a small group one, depending on what that looks like. And of course, in the last year, they've been virtual, but before that, they were in person in meeting space. And then the mock interviews, that's more with the jobs program, as they have participants that are prepping and getting ready to apply to jobs, going through that entire process. And the participants need some practice in going through the interview process. So our employment consultants reach out to these volunteers to see if they're available to assist in being a mock interviewer and assist them with whatever job they're trying to apply for. So these volunteers, I would submit their names over to the employment consultants that are in need of a mock interviewer at the time, and they will coordinate with you and letting you know what times and dates they're looking at having these to happen. It kind of just depends on the availability and the need that they have, as well as the availability of our participants as well going through the program. But a job staff member would be reaching out to you. For the speech coach, that would be depending on our trainings, and Victoria can speak more on that.
Yeah, so over to our ambassador trainings. This is something that we have available to you to possibly plan, host, or even facilitate. So under our leadership pillar, we have the ambassador program, which essentially allows our participants with and without IDD to develop leadership and advocacy skills. So we host trainings in different various areas to help them gain these skills so that they can then go out into the community, spread their personal mission and the mission of Best Buddies. So we host these monthly. We also have social events virtually right now with our ambassadors. But something that you would have the opportunity to do is to help facilitate a training. So Joaquin and I, we kind of divide and conquer the ambassadors. He handles more of the older college and adult ambassadors, whereas I kind of govern the middle school and high school ambassadors. So on a training that Joaquin and I would possibly host, sometimes we do breakout rooms in which we would need volunteers to help facilitate those like one-on-one interactions. And in the future, we are open to having you guys possibly host your own trainings if you have a topic that you think would be beneficial to our ambassadors. Something that Joaquin has hosted in the past was how to build your LinkedIn profile. And we had volunteers on that facilitating. But should you have another idea regarding leadership, professional development, independent living, or life skills, we are open to your ideas because we obviously want to, hear you guys' feedback. And then with the help of Joaquin or myself, we could help you plan and host those trainings for them. These are typically targeted to age group, which is why Joaquin and I kind of handle the different age groups differently, because obviously the college age and adult ambassadors are going to be needing different skills than a middle schooler or high schooler would. So that's kind of how the ambassador trainings work. Right now, they are all virtual via Zoom, but hopefully once we get to a point where we can host in-person events, we will also be having in-person ambassador trainings. So that is something to look forward to. And then also we talked a little bit about volunteering for our annual events. The Friendship Walk, for those of you that are not super familiar, it is Best Buddies' annual fundraising walk that is hosted across all 50 states. It's actually the leading walk in the country that supports individuals with IDD. And sorry, I'm letting someone in the room. But we encourage our communities and our schools to create teams in order to fundraise. And obviously we solicit donations and we fundraise throughout the year. And then all of the money that we raise goes directly to our state programming. So in years past, we've obviously had some in-person walks, but in more recent years, last year it was virtual. This year in Texas specifically, we had a hybrid event. So a portion of the Friendship Walk was virtual and online, so our opening ceremonies, and then we had a drive-through portion in which people could drive in their cars and still interact with everybody. We had some very creative ways of keeping it really fun, but also staying safe and socially distanced. We are hoping for another in-person event in the spring because the Friendship Walk is hosted typically in April, and it's typically on the same weekend for North Texas, Houston, and Central Texas. And there's obviously a lot of planning that goes into this, thus our need for volunteers for our committees. And sometimes we'll solicit chairs for those committees as well. So some of those might look like a logistics committee, sponsorship teams, team retention and recruitment is kind of just like rallying the teams that we currently have and helping them recruit members and, build their teams up. Then we also have a mission committee, which focuses obviously on incorporating the mission in everything that we're doing leading up and the day of the walk. Publicity is like a PR committee and, obviously promoting the walk online and on social media. And then we also just have like event chairs and things like that. So there's various ways for you to get involved in the planning process for the Friendship Walk. And then we also will need volunteers for the day of operations of the walk. So that is something also available. And then I'll let Joaquin talk about our other annual event, the Champion of the Year Gala.
Okay, so for Champion of the Year, we haven't really done this that much. In the Houston area, we piloted it last year during the gala time, but that looks completely different than what we're going to be trying to do this year in the North Texas area as a much larger event, a standalone event this fall. What the Champion of the Year event consists of is an 8-week process where we have volunteers who are called our champions going out into the community and not only spreading awareness of Best Buddies, but because this is also a fundraiser, raising a certain amount of money that has been set out by the committee of the Champion of the Year events. And the champions work with our buddies, usually ambassadors, to help promote the mission of Best Buddies and get the word out there, network with other people in their network and community. And then after 8 weeks, there's a large celebration showing the highlights of each of these champions, kind of giving information about who they are, what they do, and just celebrating their accomplishments and their achievements and the entire thing that they were a part of during those 8 weeks. And during those 8 weeks, highlighting them as well in specific ways through small events or our social media or through communications to all the people around Texas that are part of Best Buddies. But with this large events, we do need a large amount of volunteers to help make it possible, just like with the Friendship Walk. So with that, there are some committees that are listed out in the bullet points below that we are looking for chairs and just general members for each of the communities to assist with. For the North Texas area, we are planning on having the events in November on the 13th. And so right now we're kind of in the stages of finding the venue and getting all those things sorted out first, and then with the meetings to follow soon after in late June, as we're going to go check out the location later on this month. So if you're interested in becoming a part of that process, I look forward to reaching out to you, those of you that put that option down on the survey. And like this or anything else that we've already discussed or will discuss, if you find that you're maybe interested in something that maybe you didn't mark down, just let one of us know and we'll make sure to put that in the survey as well and make sure to reach out to you. But the details on the meetings and such and further details will hopefully be known to us before the newsletter goes out. And if not, then we'll reach out to you individually and as a group when they are known. But Champion of the Year events is an event that we haven't really done before, and we're excited to bring to Texas. And we need all the support and help that we can get. So volunteers are more than welcome to assist in any way possible. And so another option that was on there, parent engagement. In the past, I've been told we haven't engaged our parents as much as we would like, and that being parents of participants in our various programs, mostly the Friendship Program, because that is our largest one. And so that being the parents of individuals with and without IDD. On our advisory board, we actually have a couple of parents. One parent is of an individual with IDD, and the other one is a parent that does not have a child with IDD. And they've just spoken on their experiences throughout their child's progress throughout the program, and just we're wanting to have more parent engagement. So we're looking at doing that this coming year. Nothing's been set in stone yet as to what that will officially look like, but for sure, we want to do meetings biannually, one in the spring, right when kind of school is starting, and then one in the fall when school is starting, and then one in the spring when people come back from the winter break. And throughout then that time, providing informational sessions to parents that would benefit from learning about different resources in the area on how to assist their child through wherever they're at in life. Of course, letting them know about our programs that they may be interested in, but Best Buddy doesn't do everything. So we really want to let them know about what other organizations are available in their area and that they can reach out to as well. So for volunteers, we want to make sure that, of course, we have volunteers that are parents, but you can also utilize volunteers that are not in being speakers at the meetings that we'll be having, and connecting with various individuals within the schools or other organizations that assist individuals with IDD, and getting us in contact with them. As a parent, maybe if any of y'all are in the audience of somebody that's in one of our programs, being a point of contact with other parents within your child's friendship chapter, because the chapters do activities every month, and ideally a meeting every month. And so just making sure that the parents of the buddies and the buddies themselves know that certain things are happening within the chapter. If maybe they're having some difficulty getting to the event, or just getting the word out there, this individual within the chapter can assist with that as well. And when it comes to activities that are being planned, the volunteer can also take an active role in making sure that some parent insight is brought forth and communicated out to everyone, as well as assisting in whatever way possible during the meetings or events as well. And then finally, something else that was brought up is making sure that the programs that we have for Best Buddies are known to other schools that don't have them. Maybe you know of somebody who has a child with IDD in a school that would benefit from or would like their child to have a one-to-one friendship, and letting us know about that, and maybe connecting us with a teacher or someone in the administration, a PTA member, the school board, somebody there that we can begin a conversation with and bring in the program there as well, and to starting that conversation. But more information about what the specific plans will be about that, and topics maybe of conversation throughout the year will be provided to the parents specifically, of course, but also in the newsletter as well for volunteers. And then other options, the Houston area is looking to start up a junior advisory board. So a group of young professionals right below the advisory board that would like to take on a larger role within Best Buddies. For example, in the North Texas area, our junior advisory board took on the role of being the logistics committee for the friendship walk up here. And so they were heavily involved in that, and it was just them and myself. And I could not have done the event without their assistance, and they were vital to assisting with that, and they really took ownership of it. More details on that to come as the Houston office plans out what exactly they're looking for, what requirements they would like for their members to have. And then the Citizens Program is something that's been a big topic of conversation from participants and parents that I've heard from. It's a one-to-one friendship, just like the friendship programs in schools. This was an option in the survey towards the end of it. And it was asking if any of y'all were interested in being matched up in a friendship, a one-to-one friendship with somebody that has IDD, that's similar in age to you and geographically close to you as well. And then also, if you're interested in kind of taking more of a lead in managing a chapter. So the chapters would happen in close-knit geographical clusters in the North Texas area, in the Houston area, and potentially in other areas of Texas. For example, I had a parent that I had a conversation with today, me and Victoria did, that would like her child who's out of school now to have a buddy who's an adult in the San Antonio area. So hopefully there's a volunteer that expressed interest in maybe being a buddy for that individual, or an individual with IDD in the San Antonio area, and possibly also taking a role in what is necessary to kind of maintain the friendships there, kind of checking in periodically with the friendship pairs and making sure that things go all right. Of course, Victoria and myself would check in as well, but we're also handling other chapters in our own regions and the other things that we're doing with our job titles. So volunteers are really vital to making sure that the chapters are successful, coordinating events with the other participants in that particular chapter as well. We have been test piloting a chapter with our junior advisory board here in North Texas for a few months now. And they're actually having an event, a group of events later this month, going to a Texas Rangers game that one of the members within the group was able to coordinate. So things of that nature, having volunteers kind of take that role of either coordinating these group events for a chapter or being matched up with somebody is something that we're looking at doing. So if you are interested in that, I'll for sure take a look at whoever put that on the survey. But if you're interested in that and didn't put that, for sure reach out to me and let myself or Victoria know.
I was on mute. Now that we've kind of gone through all of the different opportunities that are available to you, Joaquin and I will be hosting regional meetings, because although these opportunities are available statewide, they look a little bit different in different regions. So we will be hosting monthly meetings that will be region specific. So Joaquin will be hosting them in North Texas, and I will be hosting them for the Houston area. Meeting times and dates will be coming out in the volunteer newsletter, which I will be sending out early next week. It's going to be a different time this month because we had the meeting a little bit later. So we wanted to wait to have the meeting to send out the first newsletter. But following that, every month, the newsletter will go out on the first Tuesday of every single month. So that will just give you updates on what's going on that month and, different opportunities as they arise. But the volunteer newsletter will be sent out statewide. So it will be all of the opportunities available in all regions. And then we'll also host those meetings, as I mentioned. And I know that we sent out the survey that had all of the different opportunities and areas of interest. So as we continuously have volunteers that express interest in volunteering with Best Buddies, we might cater those meetings to, talk about what the more concentrated areas of interest are for that particular month. So if we get nothing but interest in ambassador meetings one month, that would obviously be the focus of that meeting, but we would still send out all of the opportunities that are available in the newsletter. And should you ever have any questions about particular opportunities, we are still open to discussing those and answering those via email. But like I said, the survey is really vital for us to kind of understand what you guys are interested in, so we can cater to you guys and help you find the opportunities that are going to cater to your interests. So I hope that this was pretty informational. We're now going to move it over to the Q&A portion. Also listed here is Joaquin and I's, I'll send out an email that'll have all of our contact information on it. But here it is again. So feel free to, reach out to Joaquin or I at any point. But now we will open the floor if anybody has any questions or anything they'd like to discuss.
Well, I guess I will. I apologize. I was late. I forgot that it started at 6, and so I jumped on a little late. So I apologize if this was answered. But I'd say my biggest interest is definitely in Citizens, is doing the one-to-one adult buddy friendship. It sounds super fun. I guess what's the process for signing up for that and getting started? Is there a timeline between like when we could actually start doing that and now, or what?
Sure. Well, the process involves the general application, and then there's a required background check, just so we can vouch for the safety of all the participants. So the participants themselves, to the buddies with IDD, would also do that check as well, unless they're part of the jobs program, which they already do that process anyway. But based on the location of where the volunteers here are, kind of getting together and seeing how many of y'all are available, how close y'all are to each other, and then seeing what participants we have in the area to kind of get that conversation starting with that group as a whole, and then letting them know, okay, so we have 5 people with IDD and 5 people without in the Richardson area up here in Texas. You guys have expressed interest in being in a one-to-one friendship. Here's kind of what that looks like. Here's the steps on the application and the background check once that comes in. And then once that's done, the next part is that you would go through a match meeting. So you would all meet up in person if possible, virtually. That's how I did it before with people. And you guys would get to know one another through some kind of activity and meet individually for about an hour. After that, after getting everyone's input as to who they think maybe would be a good fit for them, I would reach out to both parties and see if they want to be matched up in that one-to-one friendship. And then from there, it's up to y'all to hang out every once in a while. There are some more details with that, but I guess vaguely, one group activity per month is the goal for a chapter. And then for the individual buddy pairs, a weekly communication between both people. And it's on both individuals to reach out to one another via text or phone call, in person, email, video chat, whatever, not just on the individual without IDD. And the buddy will also be aware of that as well. That will be explained to them as well.
Cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Kayla, I see that you have your hand raised. Do you have a question?
Yes. What if you want to do the champion of the year, but you live in Central Texas and not North Texas, and you have school? Could you still do it, but virtually?
That's a good question. Unfortunately, I think you wouldn't be able to do the North Texas one. If Houston does one, you might be able to. That doesn't mean that you wouldn't be able to assist in some way virtually. I'm not sure how that would look like, depending on whatever the need is for the events. And then as far as maybe Central Texas having its own Champion of the Year events, that might be a possibility, as we are looking to expand in that area. Like, we're going to be eventually hiring down there. If not at the end of this year, sometime next year is what I've been told. So that is a possibility. But for right now, in terms of your question, being a champion for the North Texas Champion of the Year event while being in Central Texas probably wouldn't work out. But I'm not 100% sure, because we haven't done that event before. And so if there is a virtual component to it, like a hybrid event, I guess, and not just fully in person, it might be possible. So I will definitely let you know what that might look like. But for now, it's kind of like a probably not, but again, I'll let you know.
In the past, I participated in Louisiana's Champion of the Year Gala. I was actually a champion, but we did have people on committees. Granted, it was a virtual event, so we were allowed to have committee meetings via Zoom. So I think that there might be a little bit more hope for you, like in the planning process and, being on a committee leading up to that, should we have one in Houston or North Texas. But as far as like actually being a champion, I think that there would have to be an event actually in Central Texas for you to participate in the actual event. But I think there would be more options for you to be on a committee should it not be in your region. So.
I see a question from Myra about having a buddy. You're a junior in Katy, so I'm guessing a junior in high school. Depending on whatever school you're in, if you're asking this question, there's probably not a school chapter there. But if you're interested in having a school chapter there so that you're able to get matched up with a buddy this coming school year, reach out to us via email so that we know what school that would be. Maybe there's even a chapter there already, or we're maybe bringing one. But we have program managers or other staff that establish chapters at schools. So we'll reach out to them and see if there's anything going on at your school or coming to your school. And if not, they can get in touch with you as to how they can get that program over to you at your school and get that buddy match process started.
So like Joaquin was saying, there are other staff members, program managers that assist in opening new chapters. So if you were to reach out to us, we can kind of help you and direct you and connect you with the right people so that if there isn't one at your school already, you could possibly start one and open a chapter at your school. I see another question from, is it Mercury? How do you say it? Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so I live in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Like this is where my family lives. But I actually go to boarding school, so I go to school out of state. So in that circumstance, would I apply for volunteer positions in Texas, or should I apply for the one that's in my in the state that my school is in?
I would think if you wanted to be more active in your volunteer efforts, what state are you in?
For my school?
Yes, where you are currently. Yes, at school.
I'm not in school right now, but
Oh, okay.
the school year, I'm in like Connecticut.
Okay. I don't see any issue why you couldn't volunteer in both, because right now there's opportunities for you in Houston in the summertime. But whenever you do go back to school in the fall, there are probably opportunities there as well. I'm not super familiar with Connecticut, but I'm pretty sure that there are some Best Buddies staff there that could probably help you. I can maybe try and connect with one of them and put y'all in an email chain together so that maybe you could find the volunteer opportunities there for whenever you are in school.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have any other questions or discussion topics?
Hi, I have a question.
Okay.
I'm interested in the speech training that you guys talked about, as well as parent engagement. For that, what is the process and like timeline on something like that, getting involved with something like that?
So Joaquin could probably speak on parent engagement more, but as far as speech coaching, you would just reach out to me or Joaquin, depending on what your interests were in speech coaching, and we would host a training for you. It's like a train the trainer kind of deal, where we would help you and kind of set you up for being a speech coach on one of our ambassador trainings. Joaquin, have you ever trained a speech coach or had one on your calls before?
As far as a speech coach leading a training, is that what you're? Yeah. Yeah, actually we have a volunteer that is leading an ambassador training. So I guess they could be called a speech coach. But in the past, they haven't volunteered during an ambassador training. They just reached out wanting to be involved with Best Buddies in some way. And after talking with them and what their interests were, it seemed like leading an ambassador training was something that they really wanted to do. And so she's actually leading a training at the end of this month on the topic of meal prep and grocery shopping for our participants. You know, I mean, as long as the topic is something that would you feel be a benefit to participants, and we approve it, it would be great. I also did go through a kind of train the trainer training with that participant that's leading the training, so that she's aware of what she needs to know on her end as far as interacting with the individuals, what the training structure would look like, and then anything else that they would need to know as far as hosting the training and just facilitating that entire thing.
What area in Texas are you in?
I live in the Houston area.
Okay. Right now things are virtual, so you really could help facilitate my trainings in Houston or Joaquin's in North Texas because they're all virtual anyways. But if you just reached out to Joaquin or I, we can give you kind of a schedule of what trainings we have coming up. The trainings that we host are typically like leadership skills. And so the goal of some of the ambassadors is for them to eventually write speeches. Some of them are interested in public speaking, some of them are not, but obviously the goal is to have them build leadership skills to where they can go out into the community and advocate for themselves and for Best Buddies. So one of the things that we do help train our ambassadors on is writing a speech. So more specifically, a speech coach can be someone that just facilitates an ambassador training or specifically helps them write a speech. So it kind of could be either.
Super cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And then for parent engagement, Joaquin, did you want to touch on that a little bit?
What was sorry, I was responding to somebody who sent me a question on the chat directly. What was the question regarding the parent engagement?
No, you go ahead.
Well, I guess my question, because in the PowerPoint it listed off like, you know, like sponsorship and like certain categories within it. And so I guess my question was just about like timeline and what like kind of the specific need would be and what it kind of looked like with parent engagement.
Sponsorship, that might have been one of the committees. But as far as like a timeline for parent engagement, we are wanting to get started on that as soon as possible during the summertime, so that parents are aware of what's of the meeting that's going to be happening in the fall, and just kind of the resources that we provide through our programs. And so we have a good turnout when we first kind of roll that out in the fall, when everyone comes back and goes back into school. Yeah, right now it's looking like we're starting with like a general newsletter to all parents that have had a child involved in our program, either currently or in the past, so that they're aware of what we're currently doing, resources that we maybe have compiled and are of interest to them that we can share with them as well, and kind of what our plan will be going forward once that's just better solidified. But in the meantime, maybe finding ways for them to volunteer as well. We probably have some parents on here that are interested in volunteering. So just making sure that they can be a point of contact, perhaps, like I had mentioned, for their child's chapter, or connecting us with other parent groups, perhaps, in their area that maybe they're a part of, so that we can further expand the resources in the network that we have as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions? These are all good questions.
I know I'm trying to make sure there aren't any in the chat that I have missed. It's
If there aren't any, I mean, we can give you all back your evening. And just keep an eye out on the newsletter that we will send out, and then the invites that we'll send out as far as your specific interest that you highlighted in the survey, or if you by chance didn't do the survey or missed an option to tick off on the survey, let us know so that you're in that particular group, and we'll make sure that you're part of that conversation, whatever your interest may be.
After this meeting, obviously there will be a newsletter being sent out next week, but I'll go ahead and make the recording of this Zoom call available to you all, and I'll also send out the survey as well in case you missed it. And feel free to share that survey if you have anybody that wanted to join the call and wasn't able to. So you'll have both of those sooner than the newsletter. So. If that's
Perfect.
Thank you all so much for joining. We really appreciate obviously your interest in getting involved with Best Buddies. So we look forward to having you at some of our events and volunteering with us. So
Thank y'all so much.
thank you.
Yeah.
Bye everyone. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.